We're going to call to order the called board meeting of September 9th, 2024. It's also our budget hearing number 2. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, for our second budget hearing, I'm going to ask Courtney if she would mind to give us a summary of the fiscal 25 budget for you, and we'll answer any questions that you have.
Good afternoon, board members. This is our summarized budget that we submit to the State Department of Education. I'll go over each fund source and the anticipated budget for each one. The general fund is our primary operating fund of the board. It is used to account for all financial resources except for those accounted for in another fund. And we are projecting $103.6 million of revenue in FY25, which represents an 8.7% increase over the prior year. This is a combination of increases in the state budget and local funds. Our budgeted expenditures are projected to increase by 3.7% or $3.63 million to $100 million in FY25. And by the end of FY25, we anticipate that the general fund will have a 2-month reserve, which is the goal of the Board of Education, with about 8.5 million being 1 month's reserve, so 17.2 will be about 2 months of reserve. We spend 78.6% of our total general fund expenditures on instruction and instructional support services. Our special revenue fund accounts for proceeds of specific revenue sources that are legally restricted to expenditures for specific purposes. The largest revenues in this fund we receive from the Individuals with Disabilities Act, or IDEA, and the Child Nutrition Program, or CNP. This year, we will receive approximately $1.5 million from IDEA that we use entirely for teachers and paraprofessionals' salaries and benefits, and the remaining approximately $11 million of investment for exceptional education is included in the general fund budget, and that's largely provided through local revenues. In this fund, our auxiliary services are the largest expenditure, and it's about 33.5% of this budget, and that includes the operations of the Child Nutrition Program and our bus transportation service for exceptional education students and extracurricular activities. Our debt service fund accounts for the accumulation of resources and the payment of the board's general obligation debt. And then our capital projects fund is used to account for financial resources to be used for the acquisition or construction of major capital facilities. We receive about $2.4 million from the state for our facility needs from our public school fund allocation. And this summer, we received about $7 million from our A&T allocation, which that is included in the beginning fund balance of this fund, and it will be spent on capital projects in the FY25 fiscal year. And lastly, our expendable trust fund is made up of our non-public revenues that are received through fundraising efforts at the local schools. This is funded through student participation fees and private donations, and this is our estimated revenues and expenditures for these programs, and the budgets for this can be found at One Rebel Athletics and also by visiting VHCS Arts Education. Does anyone have any questions about our budget?
Just so I think you mentioned this last meeting and kind of implied here, but in terms of our budget, when you look at the expenses and revenues, our expenses are higher than our revenues, but as I understand it, and something you just mentioned, that's because we received some money in the last fiscal year
Right.
that's being spent this year.
That's right. Especially the $7 million in the capital projects fund. That money is already in our bank account. It's budgeted to be spent in FY '25.
So we're not budgeting to spend more than our revenues. It's the
No.
way that it came out last
Yes, and it's sitting in our fund balance reserves. At the end of FY '24, we'll end with that $7 million in the bank, and then we'll spend it in FY '25.
Along those lines, the total budget or total revenues last year compared to this year, our revenues have increased, correct?
Right.
What, I guess, going back and looking at total revenue last year, do we remember what those were?
The reasons for the increase?
No, just what the total revenue was last year. If I see here, it's 116,450 this year.
Well, I'd have to look at my budget from last year, and I don't know if I have that information with me. I'll be glad to email you that.
I would like to point by that, again, a couple of things Courtney alluded to. The general fund, which is largely the operational budget that she's gone through, comes from primarily two sources, state and local. We have had the last couple of years some additional revenues coming from the state, largely the fundraisers that the legislature has appropriated. And also to do some capital projects, and Courtney mentioned that, and that shows up in that $7 million line item, capital projects. We also, the last couple of years, have had pretty significant growth in local property tax. That funds about 55% of our general fund budget. And those large increases the last couple of years have given us an opportunity to get our budget to a place where we do have a +2 month reserve, and that's good. I do want to caution about this, though. That trend of larger increases in property taxes is not going to continue. The 10-year average that we've looked at for local property tax increases is about 4%. The most recent tax abstract from Jefferson County would suggest that the local revenue we have at 56.6? 56.9 is about right. As I read, it's showing very little growth, less than 1% growth this year. So those larger increases the last 2 years are going to stop. And that's important for us to know going forward, because we are likely to see some additional costs come to us the next fiscal year in the way of probably in health insurance is one of those. Retirement could be another. So we're mindful of those things, but I just want to caution in the midst of a budget where we have revenue above expenditures last couple of years, that margin is going to shrink a good bit just because our local revenues aren't going to grow.
And Jay, I just looked back, it was 95.2 million was our general fund revenues last year. Budget. Anything else?
Courtney, thank you
All right, thank you.
very much. Great work on this, and just for purposes of those who are listening or paying attention to the minutes of the board, you have access to our assembly, through our website, to our board platform budget on ClearGov. And it's got great information, I think robust information about our budget and how our dollars are being invested in our school system. So thank you, Courtney, for working on that. All right. With that in mind, we'll move to the business section of our meeting, and I recommend, board, that you approve the fiscal year 2025 budget.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the 2025 fiscal year budget. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Board members, I recommend that you approve the bid with CT General Contractors LLC for security improvements.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the bid with CT General Contractors for security improvements. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Item C, I recommend the board approve the contract with CT Contractors for security improvements.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the contract with CT Contractors for security improvements. Do I hear a motion?
So,
Second?
Second.
And Dr. Freeman, just to be clear, these are the improvements that we approved.
as part of the capital plan, yes, sir. Thank you for pointing that out, and they are related to different facility infrastructure improvements. Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, item 6, I recommend the board approve personnel items as submitted.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the personnel items as submitted. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
When cleanup, we've had the opportunity to review the minutes prior to today's meeting. I have a motion to approve the August 26, 2024 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Is there anybody present today that would like to provide public comment? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn today's specially called meeting. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
Cool.